Hi everybody, it's Katie from Paradise Falls family. In this video we'll be taking you through our California road trip in August 2022. We had an absolutely amazing time, but it took a lot of planning, so we'll go through everything here. We've gone into more detail on each stop in our other vlogs, but here we'll concentrate on giving an overview on the trip as a whole and what went into our planning, as this was something that was actually requested for us to cover. This was our second visit to California, but our first with the kids. On our previous visit, we'd largely stuck to the cities, so this time we wanted to explore a bit wider, whilst also making sure it was really kid-friendly so we'd all have fun. Our route started in LA before we moved on to Anaheim and Disneyland. Then we went out to the coast to head north, stopping in Lompoc and Salinas on the way. We then headed inland to Yosemite National Park before finishing in San Francisco. There were loads of other places we considered and wanted to visit, but decided that this route gave us the right balance for the time we had available. So going back to the beginning, we started off our trip in London at the Marriott Heathrow Windsor Hotel, where we'd stayed overnight the night before the flight. This is one of our preferred Heathrow hotels, as it offers a great deal on parking for the duration of your holiday, and it's only around a 10 to 15 minute taxi journey away from the terminals. We enjoyed a really smooth flight out to California from Heathrow with Virgin Atlantic and picked up our rental car with Alamo, all of which we booked directly ourselves rather than using a travel agent. Our first 3 nights were booked at the Hilton Universal City in LA. We'd considered a few hotels, but we decided on this one in the end as it fit with our busy itinerary and was the best in terms of fitting in a day at Universal Studios. We'd also stayed here on our last visit, so we knew it was a good hotel that we'd be very comfortable at. We spent the next few days enjoying LA together, doing a lot of the classic touristy things like a tour of the stars' homes, Santa Monica Beach, a Warner Brothers studio tour, etc., before finishing with a day at Universal Studios. Our next stop was Anaheim and 5 nights at Disneyland. We dropped our car off at the Alamo office there and checked into the Parkview Inn. We'd intended to stay in one of the Disneyland hotels, but we just couldn't fit it into the budget for this holiday. In the end though, it was a great little hotel to stay at. We'd booked 4-day park hopper tickets and we hit the parks hard, having a fantastic but exhausting time. After Anaheim, we picked up a rental car again and headed out for the coast for a few days of driving and exploring. We enjoyed our first leg spending time at Venice Beach, Malibu, Santa Barbara and Solvang before finishing the day in Lompoc at the Holiday Inn Express to get some rest. The next day we carried on up the Big Sur coastline, again enjoying the scenery and making a few roadside stop-offs before spending some time in Monterey and Carmel. We booked a cheap stop at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Salinas for the night. Nothing fancy, but it did the job. Next up was Yosemite National Park, and we headed over for 2 nights at the Tenaya Lodge, probably the best hotel of our trip and somewhere we'd love to return to for a longer stay. We squeezed in around a day and a half in the national park, exploring the beautiful forests and valley. Although Yosemite was quite far out of the way, it was somewhere we'd wanted to visit for a while and well worth the effort. Our final stop of the trip was in San Francisco for 3 nights. We made a few stops on the way over from Yosemite at the Jelly Belly factory and in Oakland before settling into the Ryu on Fisherman's Wharf. Another hotel we were pleased with and would definitely recommend. Our final few days were spent exploring the city and surrounding area, including the Marin Headlands and Muir Woods. The journey back home again was really smooth, dropping the car off at Alamo at San Francisco Airport and flying back to Heathrow. It was then just a short taxi ride back to the Marriott Hotel where we'd parked our car, and we were able to get on the road home quickly and easily. So that was just a whistle-stop tour of our holiday to give you an idea of what we fit in. It was a really busy but really fun road trip and one of our best as a family. As I said, we've released some other vlogs where we've gone into each stop in more detail, but now I'll take you through some of the work that went into our planning and how we put this trip together. First of all, how did we set our route and pick our stops? California is a massive area and there are so many fun places to visit and things to do. When we started planning the trip, we intended to spend 3 weeks away, but because of the pandemic and the costs, we then had to trim it down to around 2 weeks in the end. We decided our must-dos were the obvious centres of LA, Anaheim and San Francisco, and then we planned our remaining time between these centres, flying into one area and then out of the other. Big Sur and Yosemite were ultimately the 2 areas we added in, as they were the places we'd wanted to visit on our last trip but couldn't, and we felt they fit in best with our route going from south to north. We made sure to do our research and work out how long we would need in each place to do everything we wanted, and then we went from there. We've provided more detail on this in some of our other vlogs. We also made sure to work out the drive times between places carefully using Google Maps to plan out our time and add in plenty of stops to make sure that the kids weren't just spending their holidays stuck in a car. Somewhere we'd really wanted to add in was San Diego for the zoo and for the beaches for the kids. However, we'd already shaved off more time than we wanted in each place, so ultimately we had to cut this out. We're going to Hawaii this summer though, and we'll be spending some time in San Diego on this trip. We can't wait. Other places we looked at were Sequoia and Kings Canyon parks, but we elected for the coastal route north. Wine Country, although this probably wasn't great for the kids, and Orange County. We'll definitely be looking to return in the coming years so we can visit a few more of these. Once we'd set the route and had our flights booked, the next thing we moved on to booking was the hotels. We've mentioned where we stayed already and we were happy and would recommend each of them. We'd originally planned to stay in different hotels, but the trip was rearranged a few times already due to the pandemic and costs had gone through the roof, so we had to adjust. Other hotels we seriously considered were the Roosevelt in Hollywood, the Garland in LA, the Fogcatcher Inn on the coast and the Intercontinental in Monterey. However, there's such a wide range of accommodation options throughout California, there's something for everyone's budget and needs. We tend to book our hotels through Expedia, or failing that directly with the hotel. Expedia have never steered us wrong yet. We like the flexible rates on offer in case our plans change, and we get cash back on our bookings through sites like Quidco, which helps a little with the cost. Moving on to driving and our car. We changed our minds multiple times over this. With it being a road trip holiday, we obviously needed a car for most of the time. However, we were a little bit apprehensive about driving in LA, having heard horror stories about the traffic, and we really didn't need a car in Anaheim while we were at Disneyland. In the end, we decided to go for a car in LA with it being so vast and spread out, and it turned out to be perfectly fine. We only got stuck in a few traffic jams. We didn't want to start our holiday in Anaheim as we didn't want to be struggling with jet lag when we were staying at Disney and we were staying up later for the fireworks and shows, etc. So we began in LA with one car, dropped this off in Anaheim and then picked another one up once we'd finished at Disneyland for the rest of the trip. This was a little bit more of a faff, but it saved us at least a few £100. For car rentals, we tend to use Alamo whenever we can. They have really clear packages on their website, they have a good range of cars and prices, and they don't try and upsell on insurance. We've used them many times over the years and have never had any problems at all. In terms of the car itself, we usually go for an intermediate SUV whenever we've got luggage. As a family of 4, we find this just about has enough room for the 4 of us and 4 suitcases and feels nice and comfortable. With everything then in place, we moved on to planning our time day by day in more detail, reading the guidebooks, watching vlogs, etc. to find the best things to do. We made sure to pre-book any specific activities we wanted to do, for example studio tours, theme park tickets and city tours, and again we talk about this in more detail in our other vlogs. We ended up with quite a detailed itinerary to make sure we knew what we were doing each day so we could cover everything we wanted. It was a lot of work planning everything, but it was also a lot of fun, and we'd definitely do it all again. So that was an overview of the planning that went into our trip to California. We hope all of this was useful for your adventure, and make sure to check out other vlogs covering this trip for more details and information. If you've got any questions or any other tips, please let us know in the comments below. We'll be adding more vlogs covering our past and future trips in the coming months, so make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more from us. Thank you all so much for watching.